Hey again, Crustacean Nation, and welcome back to the Athens Rock Lobster Network. You may be familiar with our Lobster Tales segment, and we've got a little bit of a different episode today. Mac T and Rad as always, but on the beat with me today is in-house DJ for Athens Rock Lobster games, Joey Coules, but you know him better as DJ Webster. Joey, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm great, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to get you on the show. You know, you and me have become kind of fast friends already this season, and I want to get into how you started with the team, but let's get, back in the DeLorean. Let's go back even further. I know you're an upstate New York guy. What was your upbringing like, and how did you first get interested in music?
Man, I'll tell you, I grew up in Rochester, New York, which is a little suburb outside of Buffalo, about 30,000 people or so. I mean, it's pretty small compared to Atlanta. I grew up with a lot of cousins, a lot of women in my house, a lot of music, a lot of music. My grandmother was the one that started it all with me. Large family, and it just, I don't know where I started from. I mean, it's crazy, to think where I came from and to be here now is just, it's nuts.
I know you ended up moving to Georgia at a relatively young age because I know you went to school right down the road at Chattahoochee High School.
Yeah.
What led to you moving to the Peach State, and how old were you when that happened?
So we moved down here right in 92, right before the Olympics actually came to Atlanta. My mother ended up getting married, and the gentleman she married, who is now my father, through adoption, and we ended up moving here. And I was like, 10 years old, so I had no choice at that point, so. But yeah, I miss the North. I don't miss the cold, but I miss the North. That's for sure.
I know you've told me this story before, but can you take us through the inspiration for the name DJ Webster?
So Webster is actually the town I grew up in. It's outside of Rochester, very small, tight-knit community. 85% of my family still live there. My grandmother gave me that moniker when I was very young, and she said, when I became a DJ, she said, take that name with you. God rest her soul. She's not around. She actually passed away last year. It's been rough. But honestly, that name means more to me now than it ever has been.
No doubt her spirit lives on in your music and what you do now. I'm a musician as well, but, I play drums, guitar, keys. You can find cheap versions of these instruments and get started. How does one break into DJing, and when did you know that it was something you'd be interested in doing?
It's kind of funny you asked that question because I was actually preparing myself. I'm like, what if he asked that question? I'm gonna know the answer to it right off the bat. So I got down to Atlanta because I started, kind of breaking into the mainstream about 2008. And it pretty much fell into my lap. My buddy David Smith, who is known by DJ Kermit, is still a very well-known DJ in the Atlanta area, had me fill in for him one night in karaoke. And I had like the turntables and, like the computer screen. And he said, try it out. What do you think? And I got done with that gig and I'm like, man, I could do this. And then I started, I bought like drum pads and started making beats myself because that's what I do in my spare time is I love making beats, doing the drum pads and kind of synchronizing those two like beats together, like listening to the BPMs from one end to the other and be like, does that sound like a good tune or does it sound like two shoes in a dryer? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but yeah, he really helped out, like plugging me into that network. And now I've kind of flown off and done my own thing for the past 23 years almost.
You talked about it. I know you have an extensive background in running karaoke shows as well. Do you have a go-to karaoke song that you could tear down the house with?
100%. 100%. It's Bobby Caldwell's "What You Won't Do for Love." That is my jam. That is my jam.
That's an absolute classic, man. I won't ask you to sing it right here, but I think me and you will probably jam on that on the game tomorrow.
Yeah, totally.
Being a DJ is one of those things you have to, cut your teeth in some wild places. What were some of the earliest gigs like? Is there any crazy stories from the early days?
Eesh. Oh, wow. Okay, so when I was, you're pretty local to the. How long have you been in Atlanta? I wanted to see if you're familiar with Mama Showcase down in Decatur.
Yeah, I was born at Northside Hospital, so I've been here my entire life.
Okay, so you know Mama's. So I was working a gig at Mama's, and it was under DJ Kermit, and he ended up sending me to Cowboys out here in Kennesaw, which was the Electric Cowboy, but before it was Cowboys. Well, that was like my first physical gig as a DJ. And let me tell you, when everything could have gone wrong, it did. 100%. I wasn't getting sound to the speakers. My program wasn't calling up. I was like, what is going on? And so I had to call him and he troubleshotted me through it. And, like 15 minutes later, you have that moment where everything just clicks and you just kill it. That's what happened. Everything went wrong for the first like 20 minutes. And then I figured out what happened. And then I started going step by step by step. And I said, and then it finally clicked. I was like, hold on, let me just take a step back. Boom, there it is. And it was just complete mayhem from about 10 p.m. till 3 in the morning. It was just nothing but nonstop, just beats.
Man, you're taking me back talking about Electric Cowboys, man. That takes me back to my early days as a musician. I was a 13-year-old kid playing drums for our Nirvana cover band. You're local to Kennesaw now. I don't know if you remember the place Swayze's was like.
Yes.
It was like one of the only music clubs that you could book if you were like an up and comer. We were 13, 15, 16-year-old kids, just plugging into these rinky dink amps and playing in front of, pretty much our moms.
Yeah, it was you're playing in front of bands and their girlfriends. That's pretty much it, but here's another one for you. Run Around Sue's. That was another good one for me. But believe it or not, I actually, when I went to, I don't know if you know this, but I'll tell you, I'll tell everybody a secret about me is that I am a classically trained chef as well. And I studied in Memphis, Tennessee, where I became more in touch with my music side, if that makes sense, because I learned more blues, more soul, more guitar than anything. There is a club out there called Ground Zero, actually owned by Morgan Freeman, that I became like a house DJ at on some nights that they didn't have live music. And that is what brought me here.
You mentioned it. I know you work now as a sous chef in the kitchen. What do you think is the biggest similarity between being a DJ and being a chef?
I don't know. I would say the beets. I would say the beets, but that's just a vegetable, like. Honestly,
Outside question.
Yeah, it's realistically, I don't know. It's the same environment. You're kind of go, 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 go. You got to think on your feet. You got to use your brain, and sometimes I don't. And that's what makes me a good DJ is I don't use my brain. Honestly, it's not problematic for me, but honestly, I can think on my feet, and that's what makes me good at what I do. I promise you that.
Well, on top of that, there's this whole art to reading a room as a DJ, keeping energy up, knowing exactly when to drop the right track. Was that something you had to learn through experience, or is that something that kind of came naturally to you?
150%. Because when you read a room and you play that song and you're kind of looking around the room like, oh no, that's not working. Let's try something else, a little more upbeat. Because you're thinking of like something that's at 90 BPMs when you crank that thing up to like 140.
Yeah.
So, but people are very receptive of be like, oh, we don't like this, because you'll see like the dance floor kind of just go like this, and then they're just like, oh, wait a minute, here we go. So any line dance song like Cupid Shuffle or, Swag Surf and anything like that, it's a crowd pleaser, especially, Teach Me How to Dougie. Anything that gets the crowd pumping, like, Chappell Roan's new Hot to Go. That certainly is a a heavy hitter with the Rock Lobsters, as you can probably see in the crowd. You got a great, as well as I do, you got a great bird's eye view of where we're standing.
We'll talk a little bit more about specific songs in a second, but we're mentioning the Rock Lobsters now. Let's fast forward a bit to the sports side of things. I know you have a little bit of background in sports and even in hockey as well. What have your other spots in sports looked like?
I've played first baseman for baseball as long as I can remember. I was always a baseball kid, man. Loved baseball. Started when I was real young, like 4 years old. I was hitting it off the tee. Of course, I missed and hit my dad's head, but it's fine. Um, growing up in a tight knit Italian community up in New York it was nice to see everybody brought their families together. Did like the Sunday thing. I never played football, man. It was always baseball and hockey. Never played football. Always baseball and hockey.
And then you have this opportunity with the Rock Lobsters comes up. You and I both know it's been a really fun opportunity for both of us. How did it all come together for you?
Honestly, I'm a victim of chance, man. I take a chance on anything. I went onto the website and I heard there was a team out in Athens, and I sent a message, a general inquiry, and they got back to me, lickety split, and I was like, what? And had my interview, and the rest is history, my friend. You know this.
My story is pretty similar, as a matter of fact. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there was preparation that went into getting ready for the season, even if it was kind of bang bang. What does that preparation look like? And does that preparation even change from game to game?
Yeah, our technical director, she's great at what she does, and she sends me a good list of songs. And shout out to Sarah for that. She's basically come into this role, and she's done a great job. She sends me a list of songs, for technically, our Star Wars night we have coming up, as well as our first responders as well. A lot of the the national anthems and stuff like that. It's a list that I have to go by, and try not to go away from it. But the first couple of games, it was kind of a free for all. But like I said, this is a game of thinking on your feet.
Sometimes, it can be tough to think on your feet. In that case, is there a song that is just all reliable for you? A song that you just know is going to bring people to their feet every time?
Sweet Caroline, my guy.
More on that later. So you've gotten a great view of some great Rock Lobster moments in this inaugural season. You're just whatever it is, 10 feet to my left. Is there a special moment that comes to mind as your number one for this season?
Honestly, first game of the season. Well, the first game that we actually got into the arena, it was incredible. That sold out night of 5,400 people. The gods spoke to me, especially with my grandmother there. I felt it. I felt it, man. I really did. And I was in tears almost half the game, just because of it was like a culmination of my entire 23-year career coming into, this is the biggest platform I've been on. And I'm so grateful to be here.
That's a tremendous story. I wasn't expecting that kind of answer. It feels like a weird segue to transition into this next question.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about, you have great conversations with the guys. I'm always talking to you say, hey, I was talking to Greco or I was talking to Milan, and we're talking about that. I wanted to know if in your conversations with any of the guys, who on the team you might guess has the best music taste?
Believe it or not, I'm going to go with Captain Fantastic himself, because, me and Carter, we share a kind of similar personality. I've got a lot of their playlists. A lot of the younger guys, hit me with some EDM stuff like that, like Pow and Rosie and stuff like that. But I'd have to say Shinks and Portillo. We all know where he is, and I'm happy where he is, but come on back, dude. Come on, let's go. Where are you at? But yeah, I would say Shinks, honestly. I feel like he has the ear, because, Metallica is his thing and a lot of that. So,
well, Joey, I don't know if your cat's trying to talk to my cat over here. I don't know if they sense that there's another feline across the cosmos here. But all we've
Yeah.
got left is some rapid fire questions for you, and that's how we'll wrap it up. And I think you've kind of already answered my first one. Sweet Caroline or Sandstorm?
As far as game moments,
Yeah.
what are we talking, like third period down by a goal?
I'm talking the old, like we talked about old reliable for a DJ, and you kind of already said Sweet Caroline, but that's kind of what I had in mind when asking that question.
Yeah, I would say Sandstorm, believe it or not. Yeah. It's just that down to the wire, just boom, got to hit it with the bass, because I'm a bass guy, man. I love speakers. Talk to me in bass.
What about pumping the crowd up? What's the best pump up song of all time?
I'd have to say "Turn Down for What" by Little John, because that just gets it. That's just everybody goes nuts, as you know.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question. And I was pondering what you might say. What song should be retired from sports arenas forever?
Oh my God. Oh man. Oh God. I that's a hard one, honestly. It really, really is.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. Oof. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I really don't know.
Let's ruminate on it. Well, we've got a couple more questions. Let's see if something comes to you before then. What one artist could you play every game and never get tired of?
The Weeknd.
That's a good one. That's one of my favorite concerts ever.
He's also been an inspiration to me as well. I go back before, like, if you see a lot of my music choices, a lot of Daughtry. I loved Chris Daughtry. He's been my favorite rocker since American Idol.
Yep.
So,
what's your guilty pleasure song that slaps every time? I've got my answer. I know
that slaps every time.
Yeah.
Man, you hit me with these good questions. I wasn't ready for this one.
I'll give you mine. My guilty pleasure song slaps every time, and I honestly don't even know the title of it, but it's that Creed song that goes, "Hold me now, I'm 6 feet from the edge of the." Don't want to show off the pipes too much. I do that enough on a day-to-day basis. But anything coming to mind? Guilty pleasure song?
Despacito.
Despacito is a good one. We were just talking the other day, me and the boys, about how we felt about Justin Bieber when we were like 12 or 13 compared to how we like his music now. I'm going to talk about Crustacean Nation and how we feel about an artist. All right, Joey, one last chance. Any song that you think should be retired from sports arenas forever?
I'm going to say "The Train" by the Quad City DJs.
What is that one? I don't know if I know that one.
Come on the train, choo choo, and ride it. Yeah. No, I hate that song. It's terrible.
Well, that'll be the first song we play tomorrow night. So this was recorded on Thursday. We're starting a 3-game set against the Baton Rouge Zydeco. Joey, you marked the first person that we've done something like this, a lobster tail that didn't involve a player, and I'm so thankful it was you, brother.
Yeah, man, dude, I'm telling you, man, we've bonded in that arena, brother. We've come a long way.
Can't wait for what's left of the ride, my friend.
Let's do it, brother. We're here. Let's go.